and welcome back to Unscripted and Unchoreographed. I'm your host, Neve, and today we are very excited to have
Judit. Hi, Neve, and hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me here.
How did you get into the arts, Judith? Like, was it always something that was maybe in your family, or did it just randomly kind of happen?
Well, I started dancing when I was 6 years of age with ballet. And it seems that I wanted to dance already before, like in my diapers, my mom would say, like, you will be dancing and watching your shadow. And I couldn't start earlier than age of 6 dancing. My mom would have loved to dance, but there was no money at home. Yeah, she never danced in her life. But now she's 78 and she started dancing when she was 60. Now she goes to classical ballet classes. She started a year ago or 2 years ago. She loves it. And my parents, they met each other in a music group. They both sang and my father plays the guitar. So this is, in a way, okay, they didn't have their life sorted because of art, but they have art in their veins, let's say it like that, in their blood vessels. So I started with classical dance when I was 6. Then when I was 12, I started with contemporary. So I always wanted to dance. And I remember before my equivalent to the Living Cert in Ireland, in Spain, we have the selectividad, is basically the same. I got pneumonia and I had to, like, for 1 month, I was kind of recuperating a lot of the things, a lot of the subjects. And that was right before the Living Cert. So I was there like, my God, I was very nervous. And my chemistry teacher asked me, like, what do you want to do when you are an adult? And I said to him, I want to dance. Or I want to be 70 and look back at my life and not have the thought, what could have happened if I tried to dance professionally? And he said, like, really? But this is a very not a secure profession. Don't you want to have some security? And then I asked him, like, what did you want it to be when you were a kid? And he said to me, oh, I wanted to be a captain of a boat. And I could really see in his face changed to being very, very sad. And I said to myself, I don't want that sadness in me. So, I mean, I studied engineering. I did my whole engineering career. I have a paper that says that I am an engineer. And after that, I was like, I'm off. I want to try to be a professional dancer. In Spain, it's extremely hard. Basically, there is no infrastructure of dance and culture. So I asked for a scholarship and I went to Belgium. I thought I was going to stay 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, because I was like, no, I'm not staying here with all these people. It happened that I stayed for 20 years and I danced with some companies in Belgium, especially in the Netherlands. And after 20 years, I decided that was it for me. And I moved to Ireland like a couple of years ago.
Can I just ask, in terms of, you did engineering, and was that kind of, did you want to do it? Like, that story with the teacher is beautiful in terms of you knew you didn't. And at home with your parents, was there any pressure to not do dancing?
I always had a good connection with my parents, so I was not fighting with them about dancing. But also, at the time that I was dancing, a very known teacher, a classical ballet teacher, will ask students to stop studying when they are 16 and to go into all the training in ballet. This teacher, let's say, he was very manipulative. He was this kind of, like what you see in movies is what I passed through for 2 months, because after 2 months I was there like, no way, I'm not going through this, seeing students crying out of the classroom one day after another day and calling names. So this teacher will say to my parents also to stop studying. And my parents, they said, like, look, if something happens to your health, if you break a leg or whatever, you don't have anything. And in Spain, there is not a lot of work and there is not a lot of decent work, let's say. So my parents, they were also always pushing us, me and my two sisters, to have studies and to not depend on anyone. So they said, like, look, just study something, continue dancing, continue receiving classes, which I did. So in a way, they kind of pushed me. They also pushed me to study music because they said, like, you want to be a dancer, you are going to study music. So I studied music and I did piano, which now, looking back, I also realized it was very good because I have a lot of musicality. So let's say knowing the atmosphere in Spain of how work is and how dance is in Spain, it was a very good decision. It's not like in the Netherlands or in Belgium right now where you can go and dance professionally and there is the dance schools and you have a diploma. Like in Spain, there was nothing like that. But after finishing in engineering and again I continued dancing, I said bye-bye and I had scholarship. So my parents said, like, okay, off you go. And I also think that because I have friends that were from Belgium and the Netherlands and they had these studies in all these amazing schools and then they started working professionally and then they saw, like, shit, this is a shitty world. And they said, okay, I'm not going to do it. And then they started studying in the university, which is great. But, like, I think dance is beautiful. I love it. I will not change anything about it. But the world of dance is a shitty place.
So you went to Belgium first. How was it living in Belgium? What is the dance art scene in Belgium?
Well, there is a story behind that also. Well, what happened was me and my best friend, we wanted to check and go outside Spain. And at that time, we saw in Bilbao, where I am from, in the Basque Country, a piece from DiveinD Última Vez company. That's Brussels based. And it's super physical. And at that time, that was 25 years ago, they were very, very famous. And Belgium was one of the countries that had this very up-to-date contemporary style that was mixing kind of theater and dance. The dance was not so static as, for example, in England. And we saw this piece and we loved it. So we knew that we wanted to leave and we had like one month off in October and we went to France to have a kind of classes with this company, kind of a pre-professional company in Angers. And basically they kicked us out. They said, like, no, we are not open to foreigners. Of course, at that time, there were no mobile phones or anything. I just had this magazine of the dance magazine. And at that time, there were the contacts of the companies behind. And I said to my friend Maria, like, let's call Ultima Vez company and let's see if we can have classes with them because we are 1 month that we said already to our parents, we are out. And they said yes, that we could get the classes with them. So we went to Brussels, and Brussels at that time, well, and now also, for me, it's a very surrealistic city in a very surrealistic country. And they speak French, but they speak English perfectly. And it's kind of, at that time, a decadent city, but very naive on another side. And then there is all the European Parliament and the European Commission and all the people that work there, they don't know anything about Brussels. Like Brussels is something different than what all those people think. And it was full of, like, in a way, art movement. And even though it's very gray, like people are very much in their houses, but there is a lot of exhibitions. So there was this movement around. And then dancing wise, compared to the rest of the countries, it was much more interesting for me because, like Ultima Vez, Alain Platel, Le Ballet Célèbre, which I love, I was there, Jean Fabre was there. So there was a lot of big, huge companies that compared to, for example, England is very static. The Netherlands has a lot of classical dance also. Paris was super expensive. Belgium was much more cheap than any other countries. And I didn't want to learn German, so that's why I ended up in Brussels and I liked it. So, well, even though I was happy in Belgium and I had work, things were going okay, but there was something in the background that I was not really integrated in the society. For example, my work as a dancer and in the art industry, it was in the Netherlands, but I didn't want to live in the Netherlands. I wanted to continue living in Brussels. So I had all this back and forth. In Brussels, they speak French, but I kind of didn't want to speak French. There was something kind of preventing me from that. And I was okay, but I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like, oh yeah, it's comfortable here. But so the pandemic came, and with my roommate, that she's from Spain also. With the pandemic, we were like, are we going to wait until we are 70 years of age, 80 years of age, and we are in an elderly home and going like, what are we doing in Belgium? I don't like Belgium. In a way, we like Belgium, but on another way, it was like, it's not, there is something missing. And then I met my boyfriend. Well, before the pandemic, I met my boyfriend, and that's an old story. He's Irish. And in the beginning, I said, like, no, I'm not moving to Ireland, I'm 40 years of age. At that time, I was 40. I know what it takes to change country because it's more than what we think. And after like the pandemic came and everything, I was there like, you know what? No, I don't want to just be kind of okay. And this country it arrived to an end, like the kind of a chapter that was like, this is it.
When you came here in terms of like the dance scene, yeah, especially after the pandemic, how was that? Fair play.
Well, I didn't know Ireland before the pandemic, so I cannot say anything about that. So it was so nice to go into Dance Ireland. And I was there like, oh my God, I feel so old because in Belgium, like the last times that I took a class in Belgium or in Brussels, let's say, the contemporary dance classes are extremely physical. And the last times I went to dance classes, I felt like a potato rolling. It was there like, oh my God, and all these people, and it's very acrobatic, and I am not acrobatic. And I felt old, and all these people, there are thousands of dancers in Brussels. But by the end of my stay in Belgium, I will go to ballet classes and take care of myself, and I was injured and blah blah. So I moved to Ireland and I went to Dance Ireland. I thought it was going to be the same. One of the first things I saw was that the teacher was saying, hi, my name is la 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 la. Who are you? Nice to meet you. That to me was like, oh my God, Irish people are so nice. Which you are. You are actually. I love it. You have this open heart and welcoming. And it was a nice class. And it was more into release. I don't remember the name of the choreographer. Yeah, more release style rather than this hardcore rolling into the floor and killing yourself, which I like very much, and like everybody around, they are very welcoming. And Dance Ireland, which I think it's an amazing place. Like in Spain, you don't have anything like that. Even now in Bilbao, there is nothing like this. So I was like, oh my God, and they have all these 6 studios, and there is people, and okay, of course they want more. Of course, we are always wanting to have a better pay, more days of rehearsal that are paid, which I think we have to work for it and to ask for it. But coming from Spain, I was like, my God, they did good work here.
In terms of like the dance scene in Ireland, is it very different to Belgium or is it kind of similar?
It is very different, actually. But even Belgium and the Netherlands, even though they are countries that are very, very small, the style is very different. Belgium has the choreographies are what they might seem more chaotic. There is a lot of things happening at the same time. I think that would be more the influence of Alain Platel and Le Valise de la Baie, and much more theatrical. A lot of people come from theater or physical theater. There is a lot of that, a lot of talking in the shows. The Netherlands is much more aesthetic, much more lines, very clear. Dutch people, they like things clear, and their choreography is clear. It's like this. You see the beginning, you see how they are developing, and you know when the end is going to come. In Ireland, I didn't see a lot of performances. Like maybe I saw like 5 or 6 from Irish people. They use a lot of time live music, which I didn't have in Belgium and in the Netherlands, very much into the traditional or from traditional inspiration. I find the spatial arrangement very well done, a lot moving with a lot of dancers. Like for example, in the Netherlands is less dancers. In Ireland, more dancers with very good arrangement, composition in space, and more into a bit more flowy than in Belgium, and not as, let's say, aesthetic as in the Netherlands. This would be my overall feeling about it.
In terms of maybe someone who is interested in getting into dance as a professional, would you have any advice for them?
I think I always say to people, because I used to also teach in schools in the Netherlands. Basically, I was dancing with companies, and then sometimes companies are being asked from the schools to have or to bring a choreography that they have to repeat. Like 1 month you are there working with the dancers, and these dancers, they want to be professional dancers. So that question will come to me sometimes when I was asking for teaching, and I will say to them, look, this is a marathon. It's not about how good you are. It's not about you train more, because I also lived that doing auditions, because I did thousands of auditions. But now afterwards, when I started working with the choreographers, I was also in the back. So I was watching next to the choreographer the auditions. And then I realized what people will say to me in the auditions. Like many times they will say, you are not the type. And I was there like, what do you mean I'm not the type? And it's true. A lot of times you will enter and I will see the choreographer. Like you will enter and the choreographer will already know that this person is not, because whatever they prefer a taller person. And so that's why I say to dancers, do your thing, keep healthy, keep mentally healthy, because if you do a lot of auditions one after the other, it's very draining mentally, and just keep going. And if you want to choreograph, that marathon multiplies by 20 and you just keep going. I think it's much more complicated being a choreographer.
Would you suggest go to a dance school or maybe do something else in college and have dance on the side or do classes?
That's an interesting question, because, well, I think in order to have an organized life, even when you are in your 20s or 18, it's much easier to go to dance school. First of all, because you will be training there for 8 hours, and there will be already some kind of direction of which kind of dancer they want to make you. Because in a way, every school has a direction. And I guess also in theater, it's the same. If you are doing it on your own, and I did it on my own, but 25 years ago, it's a lot of going to this class, then to that class. You have to move between. Then at the end, you are spending a lot of time in the running. But it's true that I know also a lot of people that get burnt out from being in those schools, because it seems to them very closed, and there is this confrontation. I want to learn, but not like this. I don't want this pressure. Let's say, I think nowadays there is much more infrastructure around dance in order for people to have an education that provides a base for them to go into the professional world. For example, in Spain, the dance schools, they provide like, I think it's like 4 hours a day of training, 5 hours a day, opposed to in the Netherlands, it's basically the whole day. It's 8 hours, and then the doors are still open for people to rehearse if they want. I was saying to people like, if you want to dance internationally, how are you going to compete in a way with a person when you are in your 20s? Because in your 20s it's a lot about physicality. When you train half the time, and you are used to half the time training. And this is in Spain, companies, they actually work like this. They work 4 hours a day because they cannot pay 8 hours a day. But in the Netherlands, you work 8 hours a day, and in Belgium too. So it's quite a difference. So yeah, I mean, not being in school, I think it's great because you have much more differences, but it's much more complicated to make something a bit coherent for you. I can imagine. This is what I always say.
Do you think nowadays, because I know in theatre it's kind of similar to what we were saying in terms of this isn't the person I was picturing in the audition room, it's getting to the point now I've noticed where unless you go to a big theatre school, you just won't be seen, which of course costs money. Is that similar in dance now? Have you, and obviously you know from Belgium and the Netherlands and Ireland and Spain, like, is it different in different countries, have you noticed?
I know that the choreographers, or at least the choreographers I worked with and the people I worked with, when they start choosing they make a pre-selection before seeing anyone based on the CV. The CV already put, this is dance school, la la la. I kind of know which kind of dancer it is. Nowadays, they ask a lot of video material. So they will take the video material and they will take also the school that you come from. At the time that I was auditioning, there was no video material. But for example, like people that will come from the school, from Parts School in Brussels, that's Andres Akasmaker, a big choreographer, they will basically in the audition because that's Parts. That's a name that you have in your CV. That I didn't. Nowadays, or at least in the Netherlands, let's say, and I guess in Spain too, people check which school you are coming from. Maybe not to the extent that they will say you are not coming to the audition because you are not coming from this school, but it has weight. Nowadays, you also audition with the video material, so that has, I think, nowadays more weight than school. I think to get into choreography, everybody goes into choreography because at one moment they have the need to choreograph and they have the need to create something, and they start without money, they start with friends. That's, I'm not going to say easy, but that's doable. The moment you want to make that your living, a choreographer spends 80% of their time doing paperwork, and big choreographers, small choreographer, starting, not starting, it is going to be like that. And a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people will not do choreography because at one moment they realize, shit, this is a lot of paperwork and a lot of other things that I have to do. My time in the studio with the dancers is very, very small. For example, I'm going to talk about the Netherlands because that's the country that I know the best. I'm still working with a choreographer in the Netherlands, so I'm more up to date there. You have for money. Of course, at one moment you start asking for money to create a piece. In the Netherlands, how it is you can ask for money for a creation. And after several creations, you can ask for money for 2 years or you can ask for money for 4 years. That's an immense amount of time that you need to spend to create a dossier that is pages and pages and pages of which concept you want. Like 4 years plan might be for sure for dance pieces, but also how are you going to implement that into the town around you, education. So you have to talk about all that, thinking I'm writing this for a piece that I'm going to do in 4 years. And then normally you ask for that funding to this place, like, for example, to the province. But then you also have to ask it to the country, and you also have to ask it to the town, and you need private funding. So a lot of time is about getting the funding. Then it's about, I need a composer, I need a set designer, costume designer. How is the connection between you, like the dancers? How am I going to make all this work? The renting studio, that can be another level of nightmare. Let's say that's the easy part. The complicated part is, how are you going to get performances? Because everybody wants the premiere of a piece. The premiere is easy to sell. Actually, the premiere normally sells cheaper than the rest of the shows. But how are you going to have this piece programmed later? And there is a lot of talking with programmers, a lot of that people have to see you. A lot of programmers want to see you in the long run. They don't want to program the piece that you already have. They want to see what's your vision, and what they want to do is they want to help you or co-produce you for later. And I think, or at least in Spain, people are not used to that. So they go like, no, I want to be programmed of my piece that I just premiered now, that it took so much time to create. And I don't have a tour. But the programmers are thinking about, what's your next piece about? It's like, what are you talking about? So it will be amazing to have someone selling. For that, you need money to pay for that person that sells. If you don't have a name, it's very, very complicated. So then people like choreographers will go to some fairs of art and in dance, and then it could get a bit easier. But then it's a bit, you need to have a good connection. You need to have a good talks with with programmers. I'm talking about choreographers that have their own company. So the choreographer is the artistic director of the company. Another thing is, if you are commissioned, that's much easier.
Where you are now, Judith, in the manual therapy, yeah, would you like to kind of describe it all?
Yeah, like, well, basically this started when I was dancing, and I guess a lot of dancers will identify themselves with what I'm going to say. I had quite a destructive relationship with my body. It's like I push until I'm in pain. That's the place where I know that's good. I'm on top of my game. I remember actually the place I was rehearsing in and the piece and everything. And there was a piece where I was wearing like high heels, and I had to be like arching the whole time and arching the whole time. And basically I will go to osteopaths because I will have injuries. I mean, not super big injuries that I had to have operations, but that I couldn't move, for example, or I couldn't rotate. So I will go to the osteopath, he will fix me. And the next day I went to rehearse and I was doing the arts. And I remember doing the rehearsal that was run through. And I was like, it's not painful. So I go more and I go more until I have pain. And there I realized, like, my God, what a crooked mindset I have here. And there is where things started changing in myself. I started realizing, like, I'm asking so much to my body. I'm always thinking my body's crap. That is not good enough. I'm asking my body to be ready 8 hours a day. I'm not cool enough because I was not, I mean, I will do warming up, but I wouldn't really take care, let's say. And I'm asking all that until I'm injured. Then when I'm injured, my body's even worse. And I think my body's even crappier. So yeah, I was in that area where I thought, oh, I have to change all this. And I started thinking about maybe studying osteopathy or physiotherapy. And then a friend of mine lent me a book that it's called Anatomy of Movement. If you want to know about anatomy, that's the book from Blandine Calais-Germain, a beautiful book. And then it interested me a lot because I could really understand anatomy and understand, like, oh yeah, when I do this, that chain is being activated or not. I started having anatomy classes with them. And then they started talking about fascia. that nowadays fascia is like very much in fashion. And then I was like, this is what I want to learn. Because many times I will have these injuries and then I will recover. And then the doctor will say like, no, everything is fine. You can dance. And I will say like, yeah, but I don't feel the same. Like my body doesn't feel, I feel a bit afraid of putting weight on that foot. I don't feel it so much that is my own or it's painful when I do this. And then the doctor will say, everything is fine. And then I realized that it can be that the fascia, which is the tissue that is surrounding the muscle, is not recovered. The muscle is recovered, but the surrounding tissue is not. And the surrounding tissue gives the gliding capacity between muscles. So if there is no gliding capacity, it's painful. So I started checking for like therapies that work on fascia. And then I kind of came across Rolfing. I actually didn't. I was like, shit. And I was checking online and nothing. And at one moment I got into, Rolfing, that's what I do. And I started writing the European Rolfing Association, that's in Munich, to know about how is the training and things like that. I didn't even have a session. And at that time, I had to perform a solo from a choreographer in somewhere in Germany. I don't remember where. And at that time, my choreographer was not with me because she just gave birth. So she said, Judit, I'm so sorry. You will have to do it alone. It's a 25 minutes piece. I said like, no worries. I will do it. La, la. So I was there. Before starting to the show, it was 3 pieces. I was the second piece, I think. And right like 10 minutes before I had to go on stage, I started talking with another dancer from another company. And then at one moment they said like, do you know about Rolfing? And then he looked at me and was like, I'm a Rolfer. He was a dancer that was a Rolfer that was working in the Netherlands. At that time, I was working a lot in the Netherlands. So I was like, I have to go and have a session. And after I had the session, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. Because it's very much about feeling your whole body. It's not like in osteopathy, which I really like it, is, let's say, fixing what is not moving and you feel great. In Rolfing, it's kind of beyond that because it's about bringing you into a place that you feel more at ease, like that you breathe better, that you are staying in your center physically, but also in a way emotionally, you are also doing it in a place that you are centered, strong, and adaptable. And I love it. And then that also changed the way I was warming up, the way I was performing, the way I was treating my body. And after some years doing that, like dancing and Rolfing, with the dancing world, I was like, you know what? I am giving this to the younger generations. I'm not dancing professionally anymore since a couple of years. And I am more like in the background, assisting choreography, but also in a way my knowledge of Rolfing is permeating into the dance companies, because then I can see the dancer that is about to have an injury or something in the body that is not relaxed, so that the flow, the energy, the movement doesn't pass through some places in the body. And I just love it. I think it's a great way of going from dancing and all the movement into something that helps people into a more one-on-one basis.
Is Rolfing specifically for dancers, or can actors use it? Can musicians use it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a manual therapy, meaning we are going to touch the body. It's like a massage. But yeah, I mean, everybody can do the Rolfing sessions. Of course, we will ask physical questions, but maybe your goal is to be more secure person. And in a way, your body is also showing that your body is a mirror of yourself. And your body is going to show, for example, in the way you walk. It's going to show the injuries you had, the same as it's going to show your personality. If I am a very shy person, my walking, my way of dealing with the world is not the same as a person that is all very extrovert. You can see it. And that is being translated into the what we call the fascia, because then the fascia, which is this connective tissue, is like a 3D network inside the body, is forming you and keeping you there. Because to keep you there with muscles, it takes a lot of energy for the body. So the body that is very intelligent, much more intelligent than all of us, is creating these fascial places and more stronger fascial planes to keep you where you want to be. So, for example, if I am a person that is watching the TV a lot and I am very interested, the eyes are bringing me forward. So the neck has to keep me straight. So my body is going first to create a lot of muscle tension because I want to keep looking forward. The body starts creating more and more fascial tissue. And on top of that, if you don't move it, makes it kind of sticky to keep you there. It takes much less energy than just muscle. But then at one moment, it becomes painful, and the rest of the body has to deal with that.
And where can people, like, if they do want to contact you, Judith, or book a session, what do they do?
Yeah, so I mean, I have, of course, my website. Like if you Google Judith Ruiz Onandi, which is my name and surname, and my website is jronandi.org. You can find all the information there, or on Instagram, Rolfin Onandi, or on Facebook, Rolfin Onandi. I'm not so great in Instagramming and Facebooking, but I'm making an effort. So I always say to people like, look, let's have a conversation. Let's see if that might work. A lot of people come because of chronic pain, because chronic pain normally is you are kind of stuck in a posture a lot of times, and we can help people get out of a posture, maybe have a bit more awareness of what they are doing. Sometimes we believe our belief system also is pushing our body somewhere. For example, a lot of men think that it's not good to move their pelvis. Then they start to contract their pelvis, their pelvic floor, and maybe someone said something about how the pelvis look, and that throughout years is creating an inhibition of movement that can create pain, because biomechanically speaking, it is better if the pelvis moves. Not like
It makes sense. And can you do it kind of anywhere? Do you do it at home?
that's the thing. For example, this is a manual therapy, which is more a one-on-one, like massage, let's say, and that I do it. I have a room only for that here in my house here in Black Rock, which I like this place. But also I learned Rolf movement, which is the somatic part. It's, let's say, that would be more that I will teach kind of Feldenkrais, like Feldenkrais class. Like everybody can come, and then we have a somatic practice where we can dive into a lot of things like grounding, breathing, head, which is very interesting, how you perceive the space, how you perceive inside, how the pelvis moves, spine, like, and that is more somatic class that can also be taught like that. That would be more connected with, for example, dancers. Like, I mean, it would be great to have this kind of classes. And I taught a couple of times in the conservatory in Bilbao, this Rolf movement for dancers. I think it was very interesting for them because the moment I went into the diaphragm and breathing and dancers, they all went like, so that means that when I cannot sleep in the night, can it be because my diaphragm is too tight? And I was there like, yeah, helping them with anxiety. Yeah, we try to have a connection with the client where you allow me to see how you perceive your body, because we think we perceive our bodies in the same way, but it's not. Like maybe you have this constant holding in the pelvis that you are aware of, and you go like, that's me. This is how I am. And other people feel that they can breathe. For example, one question that I ask a lot of people: what do you prefer, to breathe in or to breathe out? And it's different for each person. And that gives more information, so that we perceive our bodies differently. There is where I'm interested in, because then I can help you feel even more your body, be more aware of what you do, how you do it. And some people, they start realizing like, oh shit, I am like this because this happened and I remember this, or not. It doesn't need to go like that. But some people, they make the connections to, yeah, I know where it comes from, and I know I'm holding, and now I don't need to hold. That connected a bit with trauma work. It doesn't need to go into trauma work, but a lot of the methods working with trauma is about, okay, you remember your experience or how you experienced it. It's not about the experience, it's about how you felt, and to not keep you there, but to say, you are here, you are safe. How to build safety so you can go beyond that. And when you go beyond that, the body can let go something. Many times traumas, psychological traumas, they get stuck in the body and they don't know how to let go. It's a lot about guiding the person, because I actually don't know what happened. I don't know how you felt it. I will never know. But you know, and then I can maybe guide you into feeling, oh, this is different than this. Oh, I never felt it like that. Now I realize. Oh, now I feel the floor. Oh, now I realize what is grounding, what it really means grounding. That's a big thing. And from there, they can let go.
What do you think the government could do better in the art sector? Is there any specific programs that would be really good? If there's something you've noticed in a different country that works really well, that could be implemented here?
Yeah. I think my answer will be very metaphysical answer. And it's about, I will ask people to really pay attention to what culture means to them. For example, in Spain, I have the idea I have is that people think that culture is a beautiful word that doesn't have any meaning. And to realize culture is something that makes us, in a way, alive. Like imagine if you take out culture from your daily life, meaning no music, no TV, even if it is crappy, you will only have news, nothing with colors, because all the colors and all the light, the designers and everything will be gone. And so it will be a very industrial mentality into you produce something to be used. And culture is what makes your life more, let's say, more creative, more alive. All the colors you see, all the people were that thought about how to make beauty in this world, that's about art. And that creates a lot of richness, even physically, monetary business and richness. I think people don't realize that that's truth. I think, for example, in Spain, programmers don't realize that, programmers of theaters. And I think if you are a programmer of a theater, you are the responsible for bringing that richness into. I think a lot of times we think about what we as artists can do to bring art into society. I think we, as artists, we think about what, let's say, Dance Ireland or funding can do for us to be more in society. I think that's the main issue, is that we feel disconnected from society. We don't have shows to be seen, or that we feel that is not in the education system. And I think it's because people that create the education system, people that create the entertainment system, don't realize the depth of art. So it's a bit of a conceptual answer.
Thank you so much, Judith. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I have learned so much.